Karen Reed, cop killer or cop girlfriend. This is episode 6. We're going to talk about the aftermath of the Karen Reed trial. This and a whole lot more on this episode of Charlie Crimebuster. Yep, it's what some people are calling. They're calling it the fastest minutes in podcasting.
The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are solely those of the individuals interviewed or participating and do not represent those of city, county, state, or federal law enforcement agencies, nor sponsors and platforms of this presentation. Charlie Crimebuster, charliecrimebuster.com, and peacemakernet.com are copyrights owned by Charlie Crimebuster. All individuals described or mentioned in the presentation should be considered innocent until found guilty in a court of law. This presentation contains subject matter such as violence and graphic descriptions which may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Charlie Crimebuster. Sure glad to have you aboard the Charlie Crime train today. We're going to talk about the aftermath. A lot of things have happened since the Karen Reed trial. We're going to get you up to date on that, and we're going to talk about some things that we all are going to be looking and observing and monitoring up to the next Karen Reed trial. That's right, there's going to be a second one. We'll tell you all about that in just a moment. But right now, we want to take a moment to welcome you to the podcast, especially those who are new listeners. Every week we have new listeners, and we're grateful for them. We would like to encourage you to reach out with a shout out. You can reach me, Charlie Crimebuster, at gmail.com. That's Charlie Crimebuster at gmail.com. You can reach out with a shout out. You can say hi. You can ask questions. You can make suggestions about other podcasts. You can even lodge objections. As we say here at Charlie Crimebuster, it is a safe spot. That is Charlie Crimebuster at gmail.com. Hey, if you'd like to support the program, go on over to peacemakernetwork.com, peacemakernetwork.com. There you will see how we support the brave men and women who run toward danger instead of away from danger. Been a lot of people running toward danger these days, right? Yep, we're talking about the men and women of law enforcement, those wonderful first responders who come to our rescue, and also the military that keeps our country safe. So to all those people, we say thank you. And PeacemakerNetwork.com has a way of doing that. Go on over there. Look at it. Check it out. You can even become a badge supporter for as little as $3 a month. You can help us help those, and you can also help the podcast. That's PeacemakerNetwork.com. Some of you might need to get caught up on all these episodes. This is episode number 6. You can go to our website, charliecrimebuster.com. There you'll find hundreds of episodes, not only about this trial, but a lot of other series that I'm sure you might have interest in. That is charliecrimebuster.com. So today we're going to be talking about the Karen Reed trial aftermath. By now, we all know that the first Karen Reed trial, well, that's where she was accused of running over her boyfriend, leaving him to lie with his injuries in the snow. Well, my friend, that one ended up with a hung jury. Yep, and that produced a mistrial. Now, we also know the other side. Well, they presented the case to be that Karen Reed dropped him off at the house of another Boston cop, Brian Albert. And they are alleging that he went into the house, a fight broke out, he was bitten by Albert's dog, and then those in the house, they conspired to cover it up by placing him outside in the snow to die. Now, to see how these sides were supporting, I would encourage you again, go back to our website, charliecrimebuster.com, and get caught up. We have 5 other episodes for you to hear. But today we're going to talk about the aftermath of the Karen Reed story. And in that aftermath is the inclusion of a very colorful person called Turtleboy. And Turtleboy is none other than Aiden Kearney. He runs a website called TB Daily News. He writes under the name, Turtleboy. And for months he had been covering, years now, covering and writing about Reed's trial. Now, as part of Reed's defense, her attorneys, of course, have denied that she killed O'Keefe. Well, Kearney, he has publicly questioned this investigation. He's published all kinds of articles about it, and lots of times he will even film himself confronting a witness right out there in public. And so, every deed usually has a reaction, right? So in October 2023, Turtleboy, Kearney, he was arrested and charged with witness intimidation. Now, he was arraigned there in the district court, and the prosecutors there, they read several alleged examples of what they call as witness intimidation. Many of those which appeared on Turtleboy's blog or his social media channels. Now, Turtleboy was also accused of working with an Avon Police Department dispatcher. Yep, dispatcher. Well, they said that Turtleboy and the dispatcher, well, they illegally access motor vehicle data. In other words, they ran the plates, found out where some of these people lived. Well, Turtleboy, he pleaded not guilty. His attorney, Timothy Brattle, he said that, well, he denies the charges. He says he's just exercising his First Amendment right to cover the Karen Reed trial. And after that arraignment of Turtleboy, well, Turtleboy, who never really found a camera he did not like, he held a press conference, told reporters he will not be silenced. He said, quote, "They will never shut me up. They will never, ever, ever stop me from reporting the truth about what happened to John O'Keefe." That's what Turtleboy said. He went on to say reporting the news is not harassment. Asking questions is not harassment. But in December, a Norfolk County grand jury, well, I guess they disagreed because they indicted Turtleboy on 16 new charges. Yep, those charges included 8 counts of witness intimidation, 3 counts of conspiracy to intimidate witnesses, and 5 counts of picketing a witness. And the special prosecutor, Ken Mello, he said at the time that, well, that Turtleboy was allegedly continuing now to violate the conditions of his bail. He went on to say it is clear that Turtleboy is encouraging his minions, he called them, his followers, in other words, in the context of his blogs on YouTube, etc., and he continues to harass witnesses. He went on to say that Turtleboy is hiding behind the guise of a journalist. But Turtleboy's his attorney, he went back and said he's just exercising his First Amendment rights. He's allowed to encourage them to speak out against what he sees as corruption, what he sees as mismanagement of the Reed case. That's what Turtleboy's attorney said. Well, the judge, I guess, he kind of leaned toward the state. He revoked Turtleboy's bail. And Turtleboy, he was sent to jail. Yep, sent to jail. Now, according to the prosecutors, there's a little more to that than just intimidate witnesses. According to the prosecutors, they said that Turtleboy went to his ex-girlfriend's home. He demanded to see the woman's phone. He's accused of shoving her during the confrontation. Turtleboy's attorney said, no, that's not what happened. They said, we're just shocked and disgusted that that's the ruling. We're going to do everything we can to fight it. Now, also in all these accusations against Turtleboy, they were also accusing him of having privileged communications with Karen Reed. In other words, communications that he should not be having. According to an affidavit that was unsealed back in January, well, it says that Turtleboy and Reed had 189 phone calls. That's right, between Turtleboy and Karen Reed. Totaling in excess of 40 hours. That was in 2023. In addition to those phone calls, the prosecutor said Reed and Turtleboy, they communicated in a Signal app and through someone else as well. They're actually saying that they're actually alleging that Reed was sharing information about the case that was not yet public. Turtleboy's attorney, I like this phrase, he called it an investigation without a crime, And Reed's attorneys, they really didn't comment on it. But here's what Turtleboy said about Karen Reed. It appears to me that there is zero evidence that Karen Reed intended or had anything to do with any witness intimidation or interference, but rather it is a woman fighting for her life as a target of a murder charge. That's what he said. He went on to say she's entitled of certain rights under the First, Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment to defend herself. I guess they got tired of Turtleboy being in jail, so back in February, they released him from jail. But when they released him from jail, surprise, 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 they indicted him on 2 new charges of harassing a witness, intercepting a wire or oral communication. He, again, has pleaded not guilty to those charges. Now, what did Turtleboy think about going to jail? Well, here's what he said. He said it was a really hard 60 days in there. I'm not going to lie, the longest 60 days of my life. But then he went on to say, just knowing they had a world of supporters to have his back. And he said, I'm completely innocent. And you never forget that you always stood by me. He said he would never forget that they always stood by. He said, I can't thank you enough. That was after he was released. And since he's been released, well, Turtleboy hadn't stopped him from reporting on the Karen Reed case on his website. Now, there are certain rulings that came about that. That was during the trial. Reed supporters, they had to be at least 200 feet away from the courthouse. Seems the judge decided he'd put a little buffer zone around the courthouse. That was an effort, according to the judge, to maintain an unbiased jury. So let's just take a moment to summarize Turtleboy's aftermath in this Karen Reed trial. Well, Turtleboy, no doubt, brought to the surface the defense allegations that sloppy police work and police misconduct actually did occur. Number 2, among the things that has also brought, along with Turtleboy's reporting, a groundswell of people to support Karen Reed on her side during the trial. That's right. Had it been for him, she probably would not have this whole groundswell of people that are all saying, free Karen Reed, free Karen Reed. That was a little phrase that he coined. Number 3, Turtleboy's aggressive, note I said aggressive, not assertive, but aggressive reporting techniques has caused the state to bring charges against him for witness intimidation. His defense, well, the First Amendment, the right to free speech. But has this right of free speech infringed upon the rights of others? That's the question, right? We do know that his techniques of publishing addresses and phone numbers, making that public, well, that does, in some people's book, indeed border on intimidation. But whichever way you feel about it, it's going to play out in court. It will be most interesting to see what comes with it. If he wins, well, the state's going to say, well, he got away with intimidation of witnesses. If he loses, the followers, well, those on the other side, they're going to say that the First Amendment was violated, that he had a right to do it. Which way do you think the court will actually swing when it comes to Turtleboy's involvement in this case? Love to hear from you. You can reach out with a shout-out, charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. Now, there's some other aftermath, and we can't get into the aftermath without talking about Proctor's Problems. That's right, Proctor's Problems. We're going to tell you all about that in just a moment, but right now it's time for what we call Charlie Crimebuster's Crazy Crook Story of the Week. Well, we all know now that there are a lot of ride shares out there. It's a different world. You don't just get a taxi today. You can get an Uber driver or a Lyft driver. But we all knew it wouldn't be very long before the crazy crooks somehow entered this phase of their craziness. And this one has to do with a guy by the name of Jeremiah Charles. Yep, he ordered a Lyft ride. 19 years of age he is. Ordered a Lyft ride back in October. And according to reports, well, once he got to his destination, things kind of took a turn. Maybe he didn't want to pay for it, right? So he got into an altercation with the female driver, punched her in the head and the arm and stomach. And while she was being hit, well, she said, I got to get out of here, jumped out of the car. And it was at this point that Charles, well, he decided to hop into the driver's seat, and he took off with a woman's Toyota Corolla. Now, you see, my friend, it wasn't very hard for the police to track Charles down. Remember, he had booked the Lyft ride. Booked the Lyft ride through his own account and his real name. And all it took was a subpoena to the Lyft company. And it gave the cops all the information they needed to track him down. They even found the victim's car right there near his home. So this crazy guy who decided that he would carjack a Lyft driver, only not even to think about the fact that he ordered the Lyft in his own name. This indeed, my friend, is Charlie Crimebuster's Crazy Crook of the Week. Well, my friend, when you think about the aftermath, you have to talk about the Proctor problem. Yep, the Proctor problem. Remember Michael Proctor? He's that state trooper that they suspended without pay after the Karen Reed trial. Well, there's a single line now in a defense filing on the Brian Walsh murder case. That's another case. And it has all the people in the Karen Reed case, well, they're reeling. And they're all asking the question, has Trooper Michael Proctor, the case officer for both, been fired from the Massachusetts State Police? Well, it appears that this is a court filing in the Walsh case that really isn't correct. That's right, it's not correct. Trooper Proctor still remains on unpaid leave as he awaits the outcome of the internal affairs investigation. That's what the spokesman, Timothy McCurk, told the Herald. You see, the confusion, well, it comes from a filing by the Walsh defense attorney by the guy by the name of Larry Tipton, who apparently he made an error in his summary of the career of Proctor. You see, Proctor was immediately placed on leave when the Reed trial earlier ended this year in a mistrial, as his behavior that he admitted was extremely unprofessional, came to light. He admitted that when he came to the stand. He was suspended without pay, but he has not been outright fired from the organization. But all of the confusion comes because this is what the attorney for Walsh said. He said that Proctor, all the stuff that Proctor was involved in, resulted in him being suspended and then terminated from the state police, but only after the defense exposed the serious issues. That's what Tipton wrote in his filing. Now, that filing also, as the Herald had reported, it requested that the Walsh team be provided with contents of Proctor's work phone and cloud account. Everybody now that is involved in any case of Proctor, they all want that work phone. They want that cloud account. They're hoping that they can find some stuff like the defense attorneys found in the Karen Reed case. Now, this is because Norfolk County prosecutors, they filed notices earlier this year in this and other cases that Proctor worked on. And here, as a whole lot of people now want to try to find out what they can find out on his phone. Now, if you don't know anything about the Walsh case, Walsh is 49 years of age, actually was charged with murder of his wife, Anna Walsh. And the prosecutors are telling us that he slayed her, cut her up on the first day of 2023, and then hid her body parts in dumpsters all around greater Boston. Now, I will tell you a little bit about this case. We're not really reporting on the case right now, but this is a case where this guy is going to be guilty by Google. I can guarantee you, guilty by Google. He Googled some crazy stuff, man. You know, how to get rid of a body, blah, 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 how to kill your wife, all that kind of stuff. So he's indicted for her murder. He was sentenced in federal court to another actual case of international art fraud case, which he appealed. And he has been detained to the Norfolk House of Correction since his initial arrest. So this part is pretty easy to summarize. They're just trying to find any case that Proctor is related to at all to try to see if they can use his demise, you might say, his imploding of doing these questionable things in the Karen Reed case to see if they can get any traction in their cases. And you're going to see that happen, I think, several times in the days ahead. Now, if you've been listening to our YouTube channels when James and I talk about these cases, you'll always remember we always talk about a digital footprint. Well, Proctor, he left some big digital footprint. Now, O'Keefe, as you know, was a member of the Boston Police Force for 16 years. And we know all about the fact that he died, and there's a lot of controversy on how he died. So when a friend was talking to Proctor, he was going back and texting him on his work phone. And he said some pretty crazy things. When a friend asked, for instance, is she hot at least, talking about Karen Reed, Proctor replied and spelled out the word cunt on all accounts. And he says that John O'Keefe didn't do anything wrong. And he said that she, talking about Karen Reed, was a whack job. Well, Reed's attorney objected. Judge Cannon, she said, now, are those your words, Trooper Proctor? And she had him actually say that word cunt out loud in the trial. Now, Proctor continued with his text, said she's a babe, weird Fall River accent. A little disparaging comment about her rear. Actually said she had no ass about her. Why would you text that? That's what Ladley, the prosecutor, replied. And Proctor said, well, it was unprofessional and regrettable. And there are something that I'm not proud of, and I shouldn't have written anything in private or in any type of setting. Now, he also testified that he shared a picture of Reed being walked out of the Milton State Police Barracks. And when someone asked Reed in his text if Reed was a smoke, he replied, and then he said something really, really terrible about a medical condition that she had no control over at all. Now, Proctor did refer to that comment and said it's unprofessional, something he's not proud of. He also added, these juvenile, unprofessional comments have zero impact on the facts and the evidence and the integrity of this investigation. Well, let me just pause and say it did have a lot of impact upon the case. I think it did push the jury to realize that they could not really trust Proctor. Well, later, Ladley, he returned to the text with a friend group, and he asked him about the language he used and the time frame he used him in. Proctor said, well, this was just 16 and 18 hours after O'Keefe died. And he said that we established that Mr. Keefe never went into the home at Fairview Road. We all knew there was one shoe at the scene and one shoe at the hospital. And other evidence like tail-like pieces at the scene, it all pointed to Reed's responsibility for killing O'Keefe. And he went on to say, on the very day of the investigation, it was clear that Miss Reed had struck O'Keefe with her vehicle. Found all that out in one day, did he? You see, there was a lot of things wrong with this police investigation. And you also see there were some texts with Proctor's sister. And there is the impression, definitely the impression, that he is protecting one of his own. In other words, he's protecting his fellow officer, Brian Albert, with what he's saying. Now, Proctor is very close with his sister, Courtney, but she is friends with Julie Albert. And she was a witness in the Reed trial. Proctor's sister, very close with the Alberts. But Proctor said it's just an overall innocent conversation. Now, later on, Proctor's sister asked in these texts if the Canton situation involved a homicide. Proctor said, don't say a word to anyone. Of course not. In other words, my friend, he should not have been commenting with texts to anyone about this case. He should not be saying the things that he said. She even brought up a text message with his sister, where she sent on after talking to Julie Albert. She said, when this is over, she, talking about Julie Albert, wants to get you a thank you gift. Now, wow, what is that all about? She wants to thank him for not investigating their part in this homicide. She wants to thank him for not going and searching the house. She wants to thank him for not immediately interviewing Brian Albert. She wants to thank him for not investigating the fact that, or the part that there could have been a fight. Now, the trooper told the jury that his wife had been stuck taking care of her two kids for 10 nights. And he said, I never received a gift. I never asked for a gift. My wife never received a gift. My wife never asked for a gift. Because after she said that they wanted to get him a gift, he said, get Elizabeth one. That was referring to his wife. Then here's the biggie. About Reed, Proctor also texts these words to his sister. Hopefully, she kills herself. Wow. Here is an investigator who's charged with investigating the death of John O'Keefe, who's talking about the target of the investigation, even while he's investigating it, even before charges and all this sort of thing, he is saying, I hope she kills herself. I hope she died. I wish her dead. These are the kind of things that should not come from the text of a lead investigator. Lally returned again to conversations with Proctor's wife, in which he again referred to Reed as a whack job. That was after she was indicted by the Norfolk County jury. So far now, remember, he called her a cunt. He made crude remarks about her medical condition, called her a whack job, talked about her accent in a prejudiced way, and even said he hoped she would kill herself. Now, Proctor reiterated that they were not professional messages, and he said, I should not have sent them. And he said, I don't have an explanation other than that they're regrettable, and I should not have sent them. Well, that's a little too late. Let's summarize what's happening with Proctor. I think as far as the Maryland State Police is concerned and his real work as an investigator from this day forth, well, I think he's toast. I just don't think it's going to happen. I doubt that he'll even keep his own job. And while he said that it did not have anything to do with the case, well, I think it impacted the case very negatively. And he did not do the Alberts a favor in this, because if the Alberts were innocent, if this never did take place, if he wasn't in that house and that fight did not occur, well, then there's no way now for us to prove that the Alberts are innocent of it. Because, you see, before they had time to really investigate Alberts in this terrible situation, Albert already sold his house, already pulled up the floors, already regifted his dog, already destroyed his cell phone. So any opportunity to get any evidence that would even clear the Alberts is now gone. So he did not do Karen Reed a favor, and he did not do the Alberts a favor because of not doing his job as an investigator, facing it as an unbiased person, wanting to find the truth of the case. And that's why we had the mistrial. That's why we are where we are today, where there's probably going to be another trial, because this investigation was very sloppy because of Michael Proctor. Now, you know me. You know that we stand for law enforcement on this program. We support law enforcement. I am myself former law enforcement, proud of my experiences in law enforcement, proud of the brave men and women who are a part of law enforcement. But even good law enforcement will not stand for the kind of law enforcement techniques that we saw in this investigation. So there you have it. There is the aftermath. We're talking about the Turtleboy trends and the Proctor problem. There's going to be a lot of other things that are going to come out about this case, even in the days ahead. We're going to continue to see some aftermath, I believe, of the Karen Reed trial. We know now there's a brand new prosecutor. A new prosecutor. We hope he'll be a lot fair about this and that he'll look at all sides. Maybe he'll even come up and say there's not enough evidence to even take this to trial. We don't want to waste the taxpayers' money. But on the other hand, there might be enough pressure to get justice for John O'Keefe that he does take it to trial. We'll just have to wait and see about that. Then we know the charges. They're up in the air because now the Massachusetts State Supreme Court, well, they're going to rule on whether she can be charged for all three charges, because the jury allegedly agreed that two of the charges, the most serious charges, she was not guilty of. The Massachusetts State Supreme Court are going to rule whether those two charges will be thrown out or whether she will be charged again of all three charges, including the two most serious charges. So there's a new prosecutor. There could be new charges. There will be new investigators. But rest assured, Michael Proctor, his name will come up again, even in the new trial. So in the aftermath, there's Turtleboy and his trends. There's Proctor and his problems. There's a new prosecutor. There could be new charges. And so there's some interesting things coming down the pike. And we here at Charlie Crimebuster, we're going to keep you posted. That's right. We'll keep you posted. We'll keep you up to date, and you'll learn all about it as we continue to report on this program in the future. Now, we're probably going to take a break and go into some other stuff while we wait for the next trial. So join us next week as we share with you a very unique story out of Kentucky. That's right, out of Kentucky. Title of next week's episode? Well, hang on to it. I shot the judge, but I did not shoot the deputy. Yep, I shot the judge, but I did not shoot the deputy. Reminds you of a song, doesn't it? We're going to talk all about it next week on Charlie Crimebuster. Till this time next time, this is Charlie Crimebuster reminding you, be safe, be alert. Yep, for the life you save, it may be your very own.
You have been listening to Charlie Crimebuster. You can find additional podcasts at charliecrimebuster.com. You can also support our first responders, military, and law enforcement communities at peacemakernetwork.com. Or subscribe to our YouTube channel using tag @CharlieCrimebuster. Even visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/CharlieCrimebuster. Or if you would like to make suggestions for future podcasts, please send your ideas to charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. That's charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you will join us next week for another exciting crime story with Charlie Crimebuster.